What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to another episode of Around the Paddock. We're your boys, Seb and Nico, and we've got your paddock pass, all things F1 from this past week. Now, I do have to make a little bit of a redaction to something that I had said last week. Is redaction the right word? Reduction? Redaction?
I'm not really sure.
Retraction
sounds more like it.
To something I said last week, because I did say that this episode was going to be an international episode of Around the Paddock, which I'm ashamed to say it's not. But Nico's finally back from Colombia. Had a good trip, eh?
Yeah, very good trip.
Yeah, you enjoyed it? Eat lots of good
so
food?
Much.
Warm weather?
Warm weather, really good food. Colombia was nice. I took a 2-day stint in Miami. Miami was nice.
Miami Vice, baby. Well, yeah, shouts out to all the uncles, the aunts, the cousins. If you're listening in, hello. Basically, we just got to hop right in it because you were gone for the week in Colombia, but as you and I know, there was a lot of stuff that happened, not just around the world of F1, obviously, but around the world in general. So we got to get the elephant out of the room first, right? Specifically the whole situation that's happening in Ukraine with Russia right now. Obviously, it's not something that we condone, and we hope for an immediate ceasefire as soon as possible. I mean, I personally think that there's nothing really to be gained from it, but I don't want to get too much into the geopolitics or anything like that. This is an F1 podcast. So I specifically, Nico, just kind of want to discuss a little bit of the effects that this situation has caused in F1 specifically. And the biggest one is obviously the Russian GP is not happening anymore. I should say in the statement that F1 released, they did kind of leave themselves a little bit of an opening to go back if maybe things were to settle down, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be completely honest. But for the time being, the Russian GP is not happening anymore. A lot of the drivers were also not very content with the idea prior to F1 saying that the Russian GP wasn't happening anymore. A lot of drivers were very hesitant to want to travel to Russia and drive there just while this whole thing was going on. And then finally, something, that is a little bit closer to you because I know you're a Haas fan, but they dropped the Alpine livery for the third day of preseason testing. And does it look like they're going to drop the sponsor altogether? Or what do you think? What do you think about that?
I am quite saddened by the drop of Alpine from as a Haas sponsor. Although I don't think they're not going to be giving any more money to them. I think that since Mazepin's still as of right now, still an F1 driver for Haas, and he is the son of the owner of Alpine, they're probably going to still be gaining a bit of money from them to some capacity. But it is quite sad for me to see them lose such an important partner.
So, I mean, just to clarify a little bit, it's mostly just for their financial situation that you say that, right? Like the fact that Haas is a low-budget team, so to speak.
Yeah, no, pretty much. And I think not knowing the personnel around Alpine, it's also quite unfortunate that they were cut in such a manner because of the Russia-Ukraine fiasco. And I'll leave it at that.
Right, okay. I am also just going to say that Haas has come out and said that if Mazepin were to be dropped as a driver, their first call-up would be Pietro Fittipaldi, their reserve driver. But yeah, I mean, I'll leave it at that as well. It's obviously a very serious situation. That's information is changing, ongoing as it is. But we're gonna move on to other stuff that happened during the week in the world of F1. And for the formation lap, we are going to finish off the team car and livery reveals because we actually had 3 different ones this week. Technically 2 because Alpine and Alfa Romeo unveiled it, but Red Bull kind of pulled a bit of a bait and switch on us. So, I mean,
a little bit, yeah.
I'm just going to start with the Alpine. So the A522. They revealed their livery. I think it's the worst one on the grid, to be completely honest. We talked in the first episode about, maybe streaks of pink would work with the blue and stuff,
Yeah,
but whatever they have, in my opinion, just does not work well.
I fundamentally disagree. I think it's actually quite a nice combination. Like I say, it's the most pretty of cars. Nor am I going to say the layout of the livery is the greatest, but I think the pink and blue actually does work.
See, and not just that. Not only do they have the pink and blue little mix mashy crappy combination,
You have
despite
the
the fact that
black.
you say no, not black. So they have an all pink livery
Yeah.
for the first two Grand Prix. So for Bahrain and Saudi Arabia,
Okay.
they're going to use an all pink BWT livery. So imagine a Racing Point 2.0, a Racing 2.0, you know?
A Racing 2.0.
Racing 2.0.
Yeah.
So it's going to be that, an all pink car, just like the old, the Force India Racing Point cars. And then for the rest of the Grand Prix, they're going to go back to the blue pink livery.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I say that the color scheme just does not work well. The overalls, they just don't look good. It looks very amateurish, in my opinion. It just doesn't really look clean and stuff, the color scheme.
Yeah.
But kind of to talk a little bit about the car itself. So it has a more narrow engine cover compared to last season. So because Renault has really been trying to make pushes in upgrading their power unit and trying to make it more compact and more powerful. So I mean, having that more narrow engine cover and just kind of smaller is indication that they are working on that and that it's coming along, right? They've also got the fish gills in the engine compartment for cooling, as well as the side pods. So we can see that the fish gills are actually a very crucial part of the car design. And you actually mentioned that the Haas car also had fish gills, eh?
Yeah, the Haas car now has fish gills. So does the Mercedes as well. During the days of testing, they changed some of the bodywork to add fish gills as well.
Yeah. So clearly, I mean, whoever was the first one,
Whatever.
Aston
Yeah.
Martin, were the first ones to come up with it. It's definitely the way forward.
Yeah.
They talking about the front wing, because I know we've mentioned the front wing a lot for the other cars.
Yeah.
They also have that slot gap in the first pane of the front nose. So again, it just focuses more on that underfloor aerodynamic airflow, so to speak.
That's similar to the what's it called, the McLaren, eh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
think
was
it's,
right on.
if I remember correctly, right now off the top of my head, only the AlphaTauri has the first pane connected to the nose.
Oh, fair.
They're kind of the odd ones out.
Yeah.
And I mean, to just kind of wrap up Alpine, they have that 100 race plan. So to compete for a championship by 2024, that's what Otmar sort of set in place. So
Yeah.
we
I have
can,
the same plan for F1 2020.
yeah,
100 race to be a champion.
we have a timeline for El Plan to take
Finally.
place, right? Finally,
El Plan started with the acquisition of Otmar, of
El
course.
Plan started with Alpine with the reveal of the livery. I think at least. At least from Fernando's face during some of the photos that were taken there that I saw online, he looked a little bit disappointed. But
Alpine will finish in El Spain. We'll watch 100 races from now.
With a champion from El Spain.
From a champion from El Spain will be the last in 100 races will be Barcelona.
There you go. You heard it here first, folks. So mark it down on your calendars. Then you can come back and tell Nico that he was completely wrong and that he should just quit his job, take a step back. No, I'm kidding, of course.
Yeah.
And then yeah, just to kind of wrap it up, I mean, in terms of the power unit, they obviously, Renault wants the power unit to be more in line with Honda and Mercedes. They're right now the weakest engine provider this season, and they want to not be the weakest engine provider this season. Do you think it'll happen?
I think they're probably going to be the weakest engine provider this season.
Me too.
I think Honda and just Mercedes have a bit too much of an advantage right now. So is Ferrari.
I don't want it to be the case, but I feel like Alpine might be on the back end trying to catch up, just based on
Yeah.
everything that I've seen. And yeah, the fact that the Renault engine just isn't able to compete to the same degree. I think I kind of feel bad for Fernando, and I hope that you were actually able to see him fight at the front. But the Alpine, at least right now, for me right now, it just doesn't give me a lot of confidence. I hope I'm
No,
wrong,
yeah.
but it doesn't give me confidence.
No, yeah, yeah.
So let's
I'll,
move on to the Red Bull.
which I'll let you cover because I, while in beautiful Colombia, did not see much of the Red Bull, in fact.
Okay, let me tell you about it. So the RB18, so they lied to us when they revealed the renders back
Hmm.
back last week, 2 weeks ago. So when they came out for preseason testing, they had a really unique side pod design, which obviously we can accredit it to Adrian Newey. So he's the aerodynamic genius at Red Bull, and has been successful for building a lot of those really successful Red Bull cars from the early 2010s.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're trying something really extreme, really aggressive to see if it works. But basically, the for all the other cars, the side pod kind of connects to the underfloor, right? So the airflow is going through the side pod, like from the top of the side pod to kind of bring the car down, create that downforce. But the RB18, they kind of differ because the side pod and the underfloor, they don't connect,
Hmm.
right? So it connects at the back of the side pod, but
Yeah.
there's a very, very wide opening in the front. I mean, just again, I'm no aerodynamic expert, nor will I pretend to be, but it just looks like that kind of opening between the side pod and the underfloor allows for a bigger stream of air to sort of be sucked in there, and
Yeah.
that might cause the car to have a lot more downforce, right?
Yeah.
We're not sure,
Hmm.
but I mean, we already kind of knew everything else about the Red Bull car just based on the initial renders and the launch, right? But
Yeah.
it got a lot of people talking. So these side pod designs definitely got a lot of people talking, and I mean, it's just a matter of time to see whether it's going to be good or not. I mean, once we get to the main race segment, we'll talk a little bit more about the times that the drivers set and how they did during the preseason testing.
And then we
But
can come back to the pod design to see if it really is some of Adrian Newey's genius being pulled off right there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's just a matter of waiting, and obviously Bahrain is going to be the more crucial test. So I
of
mean, the,
course.
the test for these last couple of days in Barcelona were just to tweak things, just to get telemetry data. But the real one that'll determine performance, I think, will be in 2 weeks' time. But then finally, the last team to reveal their car and livery was Alfa Romeo, the C42. So they were running that weird camo looking
Honestly,
livery for a
I
while.
thought it was genius. Like having that weird camo was absolutely brilliant because it allowed them to test out the car without, revealing much. Uh, quite good on them for that. I was quite happy when I saw that.
That car livery reminded me of like when the TV static appears, right?
Mm,
Like when you go to a channel that has no signal.
yeah,
That's what it reminded me of
it
a little
reminded
bit.
me of like old photos of what's it called, of like World War I, World War II boats, how they used to paint them so they wouldn't be caught by other boats. I think it might have been
Interesting.
actually submarines.
Interesting.
Yeah, kind of had that kind of vibe to me.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, the driver tracksuits were really cool. Like seeing Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou, like
Mm,
with the all black helmets and all black race suits.
yeah.
I thought
No,
that was really
100%.
cool. I mean, I'm kind of sad that I know that's not going to be what they wear, but it makes them
Hmm.
look like dark troopers.
No, I think that was a pretty awesome set of uniforms they had. But yeah, unfortunately, they're not going to keep it. And in my opinion, going to something much worse.
Yeah. So speaking of that, so they finally revealed their car. To just get into the specs a little bit, it has a similar packaging of the cooling system that Ferrari has, as well as the livery for the most part. It
Yeah.
does take a lot of aspects from the Ferrari
Mm,
vehicle. It has side pods that are really heavily undercut at the front. So again, just taking that same philosophy that Ferrari was taking for downforce generation and like underfloor and rear wing aerodynamics.
Yeah, I noticed they have a bit of an Aston Martin fish gills kind of going on there too. A bit different to the
Really
Ferrari ones.
wide ones, like really, really
Yeah.
wide open fish gills.
It
So
also kind of reminds me of what Haas is actually currently running as well, but just Haas is being a bit smaller.
honestly, I think it looks cool, at least from a top down view. The Alfa Romeo looks really cool.
Yeah.
The livery is a bit uninspired, but I mean it's an Alfa Romeo livery, like it just uses its colors and stuff, but
No,
obviously
yeah.
it does nothing
Special.
unique or special, right? So I don't
Yeah.
really have a lot to say about the livery. It's not ugly, but it's not
Yeah.
eye
It, it,
catching either.
it kind of reminds me of it wanting to be like, it kind of makes me think they want to be a bit more like a Ferrari esque livery, with that all red with a bit of splash of white. But that candy red, that like candy apple red, doesn't hold the same like stance as the vibrant red of the Ferrari.
Ferrari red. Well, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to compete against it,
No, yeah, it
or
is.
just like try to get as close as possible without crossing the line, I guess. Um,
No, yeah,
and then the other thing that I saw, at least for the Alfa Romeo, that people were mentioning was the front wing design.
yeah,
So like the nose and central section of the front wing are positioned relatively high, so not as high as the Aston Martins actually. So the Aston Martin has a pretty high, like the nose is positioned really really high compared to other cars.
yeah.
But this is also another one of those cars that's running a higher configuration with the front nose, and it's really prioritizing airflow to the underfloor. So I mean, again, we
Yeah.
can see some cars are prioritizing airflow to the rear, like the way that it escapes from the rear, and a lot of other cars are really prioritizing that downforce generation and that underfloor um, aerodynamics.
Yeah, of
So Alfa Romeo is sort of following suit with that, kind of like what Ferrari's doing, which makes sense because they're going to be using the
course.
Ferrari power unit. They have
They have a
Ferrari
ton of the
components.
a ton of Ferrari components.
Excuse me, yeah. So, and I mean, this car was revealed a couple days ago, so it's still relatively new, and that actually completes all of deliveries for the 2022 season. We've seen all the cars. Tell me, Nico, which is the nicest and which is the least nicest in your opinion?
Of all of them, or of just the
Yeah,
ones
of
we
all the
saw?
ones, like so the ten teams.
I
So now
think
we can.
Ferrari's is the nicest, hundred
Which one?
percent. Ferrari,
Okay.
100% the nicest. Um, I'll give it to Aston Martin. I think Aston Martin's like green, like really gem vibrant, like jewel color green. It's really nice. Um, I'm actually gonna bump it up. I think Haas's new livery without the without the Urukai or
Yeah, or
Urukai
Alkali or Alkali. Urukai.
Urukai
Yeah, sponsored by
Urukai,
Saruman and
of course. Yeah, without the Urukai sponsor, I think it actually looks quite nice. It's just the black and white, the black and white
yeah, yeah.
kind of look with a bit of red on it. I
Yep.
think that's quite nice.
Looks
Um,
clean.
yeah, honestly,
Which was the
by
worst
the
one in your opinion?
Alfa Romeos, I think. Honestly,
Hey,
yeah. I'm
really?
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's like nothing to it. It just kind of looks like a rip-off Ferrari to me.
Okay,
But
interesting.
but
So one Ferrari vehicle at the top and one
at
at
the
the
bottom,
bottom. Yes,
yeah.
a Ferrari sandwich.
And I have no opinion really on any of the other cars, and that's kind of a testament to their livery, where I can't really like pop into my head what the liveries kind of look like.
Yeah, well,
Whereas,
it's all subjective at the end of the day. I mean, I
of
know for
course,
for me, I think kind of I'm in agreement with you. I think the Ferrari looks the nicest. I don't know if it's part of the master plan that Mattia Binotto, the team principal, has, but I think I'm definitely falling for the Ferrari hype, and the car really helped.
oh yeah,
I'd put Aston Martin like just a hair behind in terms of the car design because I
fully
think
agree.
it's the first one that the first of the teams to release their cars, and it still looks one of the nicest.
Yeah, no, hundred
Um,
percent.
and then I mean for me I'd put the Alpine last, maybe followed by the Williams. I did not really like them too much. The Williams is
Sure.
just weird looking. I mean, it looked nice in Silverstone. The blue was the darker blue.
Mm.
I like that dark blue color, but I just don't like the design of the livery. And then yeah, for Alpine, all that pink, BWT pink, it just does not look good. And I am happy that Aston Martin decided not to add a lot of pink to their car last year. So
Fair. No, yeah, I'll give it to you. That's a fair standing.
all right, so let's move on to the main race topic now,
Yeah,
because we had 3 days of the very first preseason testing period for the 2022 season. Exciting times. Woohoo!
very exciting.
So this happened in Barcelona. And I mean, just yeah, Nico. Like, what do you think? We'll hit a couple of the main topics that I kind of had written down, but
Of
just
course.
overall over the 3 days, I don't know if there was anything you saw that you found interesting or anything like that.
What I found really interesting was two key points. Okay, actually three key points, and they're basically of each day, which was the competitiveness of the McLaren with Lando Norris setting his time, and it wasn't actually beat until day three. I was quite impressed with Lando Norris and that McLaren. It was quite nice. And
So
then
just to interrupt, but just to
yeah,
clarify for the audience that might not be sure. So on the first day, Lando Norris, the McLaren driver,
yeah,
he set a
set
time
a
of 1 minute 19 0.568
yeah.
milliseconds, which, as Nico said, yeah, it stood as the fastest time overall until the third day when it was beaten.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, I'm quite impressed with Lando Norris. That being said, though, he did do 103 laps compared to, for example, Charles Leclerc's or 80 or Carlos Sainz 73. So there's likely that he did enough laps to where he got accustomed to the track and to the car. But still on him. Fantastic first day. Very impressed with McLaren, and very impressed with Ferrari being 1-2 on the first day. Uh, that goes to show that the
What do you mean
Ferraris
two
are going to.
three two three?
Yeah, sorry, 2-3. That really goes to show that Ferrari is going to be very competitive next, this upcoming year. I'm also quite impressed with Mick Schumacher being 12th overall for the racing. Now there was only 16 people that raced, but still he put his Haas over the Aston Martin, Williams, another Nikita Mazepin's Haas, and Robert Kubica's Alfa Romeo. So good on him.
Yep. And
I'm quite excited with that, and he did that with 23 laps compared to Alex Albon's. I believe it's 66.
no, but Albon finished slightly higher than Schumacher. I
No,
think
that's
you mean
that,
like
that's.
Lance Stroll. He rode 67 laps still.
I'm actually no, but I did mean actually Alex Albon because even though Alex Albon had so many more laps, right, with
Oh, they
less
were like that
laps,
close.
they were that close,
Yeah.
right? So I'm quite impressed with Haas seemingly being competitive against at least Williams and looking to be around the level of Alfa Romeo.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I think hopefully we can see Haas kind of climb up the ranks.
yeah,
I think there's still a lot of issues and concerns for both teams that I'm going to touch into a little bit later. Um,
absolutely, yeah,
but I mean, I'm also like Aston Martin. I don't think performed as well as I was hoping in the 3 days as a whole. Right?
yeah. They,
Obviously,
they
Seb.
weren't the biggest performers, unfortunately.
No, and I mean, I know Seb performed very well. He was top 10, pretty much consistently, all
Yeah,
3 days. Right?
yeah.
Lance Vance, our boy Sir Lance Vance, he did not do as well, and was out of the top 10 all
Yeah,
3 days. And on the third day, he didn't even ride.
yeah.
But
I think
I just,
Vettel was first day sixth, second day sixth, third day was fifth. So he did phenomenally and very consistently.
yeah. So he's one of those drivers that I'm hoping can be consistent, can maybe push a little bit more with whatever data they're able to get.
Yeah.
So I kind of just want to cover the, like you say, like the most consistent drivers and
Mm.
fast lap times. So throughout the 3 days, I have the top 10 fastest laps set by the drivers. So in first place, it's Lewis Hamilton. And I should actually preface this, that the top eight over that 3 day period, they're separated by just a few hundredths of a second, right? So
Yeah.
they're all in the 1 minute 19 second mark. and then 9th and 10th place are just slightly behind in the 1 minute 20. But it was really, really close. Again, not indicative of what's going to happen in the season, but this could, give us a bit of a sign that a lot of these teams are creeping a lot closer and just becoming a lot more competitive overall.
Yeah, of course.
So we have Lewis in first, George Russell in second. So we have a Mercedes 1-2, surprise, surprise. We have a Red Bull in third place, but it's not the one you think. It was actually Sergio Perez who set the third fastest time. Then we have your boy Lando, Charles Leclerc for Ferrari, Max Verstappen for Red Bull in sixth, Sebastian Vettel in seventh for Aston Martin, Pierre Gasly actually in eighth with AlphaTauri. So Pierre he's still pulling through, right? Even when the other teams can't, he's the best of the rest, I think, in my opinion. And then you have Carlos Sainz with Ferrari in ninth and Daniel Ricciardo in 10th.
Yeah.
So Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, they seem to be, well, and Mercedes, I should say. I completely left them out. But yeah, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren. Seems like those are the top teams based on the timings here.
Yeah, it really does. No, it absolutely does. It seems like they're going to be the, to no surprise, the most competitive teams.
No, it'll be cool. I'm like, to see George's name up there. That's
absolutely
unheard of over the past few years.
And he's actually quite close to Hamilton too in the fastest lap time. He's 100th of a second, I think. Yeah.
Yep, and he drove a lot more laps than Lewis. So I mean, Mercedes definitely gave him the chance to get used to the car.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's gonna be quite interesting to see how the year rolls out. That being said, though, it should be noted that Ferrari's Carlos Sainz did do the most laps, followed by Danny Rick, George Russell, then Alex Albon, Max Verstappen, and Charles Leclerc and Pierre Gasly. I mean, up until Seb, who is not far from like Carlos Sainz to Seb, they did really close amounts of laps. But then when you drop from Seb's 174 laps to the one right under, which is Lando Norris's 155, you really see there's a big difference in how much they got to actually test out the car, and that could actually play a massive difference onto the final times.
I mean, a lot of that also just has to do with like reliability issues, or
100%.
Sometimes they would divide the drivers like between the morning and afternoon sessions. But I know some teams let the drivers kind of go the full day, where they were able to clock in like a lot of laps.
And I'm sure that's what happened with Alex Albon. I mean, 207 in a Williams,
right? And like the Latifi is nowhere in the top 10 there. Again, the teams that ran the most laps were Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, right?
And
Red Bull, but only Max Verstappen, right? Like Sergio Perez had a lot of problems in the first day or the second day.
I think he was the first red flag of the year.
There you go, red flag for Red Bull. But in terms of like, I think the consistent teams were Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes. They had both their drivers in the top 10, so they were working both their drivers, taking data. Obviously, Verstappen's just a beast, right?
Yeah, of course.
You can just give him whatever car, and he's just gonna extract everything and then some.
Yeah, and Sergio Perez as well. The man's an absolute monster.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm not saying that to kind of diminish Checo's ability as well, but obviously we can agree that Verstappen is just on another level from most other drivers, right? So I'm not surprised to see him up there. Gasly and Vettel, right? I'm happy to see them there because I'm a big fan of those two drivers. So it's good that they had a decent amount of laps to get used to the new cars, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of the drivers and the teams with the least laps driven in all the 3 days, and kind of what I wanted to touch on when we were talking about Alfa Romeo and Haas recently, but it is Alfa Romeo and Haas.
Yeah, they had the most car issues. They had a ton of leaks, a ton of breaks. Unfortunately,
just not able to get a lot of laps. So I mean, for Alfa Romeo specifically, I feel bad for Bottas.
Yeah, absolutely.
New team, new car, and barely gets a chance to even log a decent amount of laps. I don't have the total number, but he didn't even get to do like 100. Did he even get to do 50?
I'm not really sure. I know Zhao did more racing than
He didn't even
Bottas.
get to do. He didn't even get to do 80 laps.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, he's experienced. He should be able to kind of get in the rhythm of things, get the hang of things. But it's a bad start,
No,
if you
yeah.
ask me.
I'm sure by the Bahrain testing, it's going to be a lot better. But no,
Well, yeah, yeah.
it was not a good way to start the F1 year.
I mean, at the end of the day, we are criticizing, so to speak. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying not to think of it as criticisms, just as like just talking about what we think and what we saw. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like for Alfa Romeo, Haas, or any other team, these are the times when you want all those things to go wrong, right?
Yeah.
So all
No,
those
absolutely.
fuel leaks, like um, missing the fuel pump mistake that Haas made,
Yeah.
the reliability issues for Alfa Romeo. If they're able to make those mistakes in Barcelona, learn from the mistakes and fix them by the time the first Grand Prix starts, then
No, this is
no
definitely
criticism
the
at all.
time. No, yeah, this is definitely the time to make every single mistake. And it's not a criticism on any of the other teams actually, but like this is when you want to be able to like push and break your car, because once it gets to the actual racing, you don't want to accidentally have something go wrong and not have a good understanding of how to fix it. So this might actually end up being a benefit to those teams,
And
beyond being able to understand exactly what broke and why it broke and how to prevent it. Might actually end up going better for them in the long run.
and I'm sure you have your fingers crossed for Haas, so
Of
that
course.
that is the case with them.
Well,
Yeah.
I do want to point out that on day two, Mazepin did come eighth overall. You know,
Oh,
that's
there you
actually
go.
quite good. He's very close to Checo.
Yeah,
So
just 2 seconds from McLaren first, which is a big chunk of time. I'm
it
not
is,
gonna
but
lie,
still.
but compared to some of the times that the other drivers made, yeah, you're right. There were 16 total on day two, and he was eighth, so he was right in the middle.
No, yeah. So you
Better
got to
than
give
his
him that.
teammate Shoot Mick. He beat Mick,
Yep,
right?
he
So
did beat Mick. Yep, but not by much it seems. It's
just a couple hundreds, yeah, four
couple
hundreds,
hundreds. Yep.
400, 500s, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
With
and sorry, what were you saying?
I was gonna say with actually even less laps than Mick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, it's and I mean like come day three, Mazepin was only able to do 9 laps, for example, right? So
Yeah, and Mick
it's
zero. So
yeah. So I mean that kind of stuff. You also want to give your drivers an opportunity to get used to the vehicles. But again, we have another round of preseason testing, so
yep.
it's not the end all be all for this teams if it doesn't go their way. But now something interesting that I'm sure for anyone that's been following F1 pretty closely, maybe not even that close during the last week, they might have come across this term once or twice, but porpoising.
Yeah.
And that's an effect that kind of came to light when the drivers were testing out the vehicles. Nico, how much do you know about the whole porpoising thing?
So I was actually reading the official F1 description of porpoising, and I think I have a general understanding of what is occurring. But
Tell us.
I can't promise I'm going to be 100% accurate. But it seems like when the air goes under when the air goes underneath the car to go into ground effect, it seems like there's a buildup of pressure, of greater pressure differential between the underneath of the car and above the car. And it seems to be kind of compressing the car closer to the ground and then releasing, kind of bumping the car back up, right? And it does that on a cycle until the car breaks. So it kind of pushes the car down, then the springs push it back up, then push it back down, then push it back up over and over and over again. It seems like the teams, because it didn't come up in any of the simulations or any of the other wind tunnel testing, it seems like the teams are going to have to do better control, better design on controlling the actual air movement underneath the car.
Yeah. So I mean, that was a good explanation. That's pretty much what I had too. Just to kind of clarify for obviously those of us that aren't as uh, aerodynamically or technical in that sense, because that was a really technical explanation. But the whole aspect of porpoising is when the drivers are on the straight and they're going at max speed, the kind of like you say, the downforce generated by the car creates a pressure that just causes it to bounce up and down. So it's called porpoising because on camera it looks like when a porpoise is swimming, right? And it's just like waving up and down. So it's the rear of the vehicle that will kind of like kick up, and then the heavy downforce that it generates when it's going really fast, it'll bring it back down. It looks very uncomfortable from a
Horribly,
driver perspective. Like
horribly
imagine to just be
uncomfortable.
like bouncing up and down while going at 300 kilometers an hour plus, right?
No, yeah.
Um, I read that whenever they have their DRS open, it does sort of help solve the porpoising problem.
Which makes sense if it's an issue at the rear of the vehicle.
Yeah. So once the rear flap is open and it allows more of that air to just pass through,
Yeah.
it reduces the porpoising. But DRS, you don't have access to DRS for 100% of the time during a race, depending on weather
No.
conditions, depending on if there's a safety car, if you're just starting.
Yeah.
So it's obviously not a long-term
Solution.
solution to have the DRS be the like to solve that problem. And yeah, like you said, they're definitely gonna have to do some work to try to fix that with future upgrades, because
Yeah. I
it
would be
just
really interested in a F1 bringing back active suspension, because I would imagine that would actually be able to be a massive aid to reducing porpoising if they're able to like actively manage the suspension of the vehicles.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I think George Russell was talking about it or something like that. He was talking about the potential of active suspension to help with that. Don't
I
quote me
hadn't.
on it. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I hadn't actually seen it. That was actually something I thought. If two great minds think alike, then yes, they should return active suspension. Actually, I've been saying for them to return active suspension to F1 for a few years now. So
Toto, did you check your emails? I think you might have a resume from Nico.
please check your emails, but not during a race.
Yeah, not during a race, Toto,
Not
but
during a race, though.
check your email. Check your email.
Yeah,
And
you
then
too, Michael Massey,
yeah, but I mean, he doesn't have as much influence anymore. So,
but not during a race.
and just to kind of like add the last little point to the porpoising thing, this
Yeah,
isn't exactly a new thing either. So the
no,
whole term was actually coined by Marco Andretti, I think, almost like 40 years ago.
yeah,
There was around 40 years ago. There was also a regulation change in F1 that required the cars to be more downforce driven, and I mean, for those cars as well, it also caused that porpoising problem. Um,
Well, I
Often
think the 40 years ago they had what's it called?
the
The
suspension.
they had the underskirt suspension. They had what they're implementing now.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Yeah,
No, I mean, again, off the top of my head, I'm not really too sure what came out of that in that time
yeah.
period for
I
the
might be
porpoising,
I might be entirely off, but
but
I do know that this is a return to the ground effect vehicles. This isn't a new
yeah,
implementation of it.
yeah.
So yeah, if this is something that might have occurred 40 years ago, uh, it would be interesting to see how they tackled it now compared to how they would have tackled it back then.
So those drivers better have good dental coverage for that
Yeah.
time being, because they're going to be clattering teeth quite a lot.
Oh yeah. They're gonna be just wearing a mouth guard like in hockey.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, imagine that. How are you going to be able to get your drink?
There
Um,
is no drink. There's just face guard.
but yeah, so that was the first preseason testing.
Yeah.
I would say that as of now, from what we've seen, Ferrari is the strongest team. So it looks
Yeah,
like the
I
hype is
agree.
real. I know there were a lot of F1 YouTube channels and F1 commentators that were really buying into the Ferrari master plan for this year, and counting Ferrari as at the very least the team with the World Driver Championship. A lot of people
Yeah.
are touting Leclerc, and I think just based on what we saw, it could be, man. It could actually be.
Yeah, I think also from the view of it, I think Mercedes is also quite solid, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lewis takes another championship.
No, not at
Considering considering he did come first on day 3 and does have the fastest lap uh, overall over 38 testing, and he didn't complete as many laps as say some of the other racers. Yeah, I would not be surprised to see a Mercedes Ferrari dominance.
Yeah, McLaren as well. They're
McLaren
also
as
one
well.
of the strong teams, and yeah, now we just have to look forward to 2 weeks time when they go to Bahrain to do the final preseason testing, and I think that's the one where we're actually going to be able to see who's legitimately competitive, who might struggle, and everything in between. So
Yeah, I'm
I'm
hoping for a stronger Haas for Bahrain.
light a candle and pray to whatever deity you think
Mhm.
will bless Gunther and Haas,
Yeah.
because based on this preseason test, they'll need it.
Well, yeah, doing a lot better than last year already, though.
So let's move on to the cool down lap now, and Drive to Survive
Yeah,
coming soon. Are
coming real soon.
you excited?
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah,
gonna binge the entire thing.
our F1 telenovela.
Or F1 telenovela.
So what are you looking forward to seeing in the show? Like, so what events that Netflix is going to try to over dramatize are you
Oh,
looking forward to seeing?
two. There's just two. There's only two big things to really look out for. Now, I'm gonna piss some people off by just saying there's two, but it is 100% Silverstone and the last race.
Okay, yes, Abu Dhabi. We know that whole thing
Yes,
is that's going to be the climax of the show. That's the chef's
absolutely.
kiss that Netflix was looking for.
But you do know that Silverstone is going to be a major point. Max held a massive lead over Lewis, and that race with Max not finishing is what let Lewis come back so close.
Silverstone, Monza as well. When
Yeah.
Max climbed up on the top of Lewis's car. Well,
Yep.
okay, they had an incident. It's not like Max actually climbed to the roof of Lewis's
Yeah.
vehicle.
Yeah.
They had an incident. They crashed, and Max's car ended up on top of Lewis's car.
Yeah.
I think
I'm
that one is going to
also
be one of those as well. Like really over
absolutely. Yeah.
dramatic ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like they're really just cut to Christian Horner saying
Hmm.
something snarky about Hamilton. Cut to Toto Wolff saying something snarky about Red Bull.
Of course. And then, of course, probably the two biggest ones I want to see as well is the McLaren victories. You know, the McLaren 1-2 for,
Yeah. Oh.
yeah,
Oh hell yeah.
absolutely. And also Ocon's victory.
Yeah. Well, I mean, F1 did a cool little analysis of the radio conversations and stuff like that for
Mm,
Alpine during that race in Hungary. So
yeah,
it's one of their mini documentaries. I thought that was really well done, and it was super non-biased, right? Because like again, I
of
mean,
course.
it's not surprised that Netflix is just gonna serialize almost every little thing, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I think it's gonna be cool. I feel like for Ocon's win, Netflix might try to do some like Naruto type of episode
Hmm,
where they're just gonna keep flashing back to moments of his like hardships and like his childhood
yeah.
and everything, and then like they'll kind of sprinkle, the where the race is at, and then kind of just dramatically at the end when he wins,
Oh, yeah,
you know.
absolutely. It's just going to be like Hamilton passing everyone. It's just going to flash back to like Ocon and just like struggling to get into F1 or like, I guess, FP2. And it's just going to be like right at the end. He just like took it.
And
It
then
wasn't like that he was so far ahead of everyone that it was. Yeah, Hamilton could have passed him if it wasn't for Alonso, but like
that
he
that
was.
is also something I want to see: Alonso versus Hamilton in
Yeah.
Hungary.
Oh yeah.
It's an epic battle, by the way. If you're curious, literally just search Fernando Alonso versus Lewis Hamilton in Hungary 2021. It is it's a nice fight between the two, and the
Yeah.
old man Fernando still got it. So why should
Yeah.
he, the
No.
rookie, the old man rookie Fernando,
The old man rookie. Yeah.
he still
Get it
got it.
straight.
Yeah, no, exactly. Um, and also, I think there was a whole incident with Bottas and Russell, right? Like when they crashed in Imola, and then
Yeah.
Russell smacked them in the helmet.
Yeah, when Russell lost control because of the wet condition and basically rammed into Bottas.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So that's also something that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I mean, again, I know Drive to Survive isn't really indicative of how the F1 paddock really is, but at least in our opinion, because I know you feel the same way as I do, it's entertaining.
Very
And
entertaining.
if you're able to sort of separate the fact that it's a TV show that Netflix really does try to create some drama where there's not there, but just for the sake of entertainment.
Yeah.
It's well shot. It's cool to see those behind the scenes of how the team operates, getting some of those behind the scenes interviews from drivers and team principals, right?
Oh yeah, it's very much TV's like drama on Instagram, where it's you only see a select cut of things, but it's all the juiciest parts, and it's not an actual reflection of the day to day.
Yeah, it's literally it's a telenovela. So
It's literally a
it's
telenovela.
literally a telenovela.
Yeah,
So I mean, yeah, it'll be cool. Do you know specifically when in March, mid March?
14th, I believe.
Okay, sweet. All right, yeah, that's basically 2 weeks from now.
Pretty much.
So we might even talk about it. What we
Yeah.
see in Drive to Survive, if we see anything kind of messed up or
Hmm.
anything we think is cool. But
Yeah.
just now to pose the question to all the listeners, to everyone out there, what are you excited to see in Drive to Survive? Or are there kind of any events that you're looking forward to seeing what Netflix does with them? Because I mean, we can obviously see all these events and stuff if we search it up on YouTube or whatnot, but I'm kind of just excited to see what Netflix does with the footage that they grabbed from a really dramatic season
Oh
all on
yeah.
its own, right?
Probably the most dramatic of all seasons.
Definitely. At
Yeah.
least, yeah, definitely one of them. I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely in
and the way
recent
it
memory.
finished, it's just
Oof. Oh,
it was nuts. Yeah. Oof.
yeah, yeah.
Oof. So yeah, if you guys have any specific incident or moment from the last season that you're excited to see in Drive to Survive, definitely let us know. You can send us an email at aroundthepaddockpodcast@gmail.com. You could hit us up on Instagram at around the paddock podcast or Twitter at ATP_pod.
Yeah.
Just
Send us. You should also send us some pictures of you buying Haas equipment, so then you can support Gene Haas, which supports the F1 team, and then send the pictures to us, so we can just see your wonderful faces with a CNC mill.
the people will be the sponsor of Haas, their title
Yeah.
sponsor of Haas. Literally, it'll just say the people, and
Right
it'll
before
be
we go to the shunt of the week, did you see on Reddit that Formula Dank was joking, and I'm hoping they actually try to do a GoFundMe to be a title sponsor for Haas, or at least a sponsor for
like a
Haas.
Formula Dank sponsor.
Yes.
Send me the link, and I'll make a
Yeah.
donation to it. I'm
Yeah.
putting my name in there.
I would 100% back that.
Yeah,
Have
that'd be awesome.
Formula Dank to be a title sponsor, not even just a regular sponsor, but be the title sponsor. So it'd be Formula Dank Haas F1.
I can only imagine what the livery would be.
It's the delivery they photoshopped in is the what's it called, the Last Supper,
The
but the
Last
one that's
Supper
like
with
yeah,
Giovanazzi's face as Jesus and all that.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
awesome.
overlaid.
That's awesome. No, just
Yeah.
literally take a picture of Gunther Steiner. Just superimpose that on the car.
That'd be
Well,
amazing.
hey, hopefully, man. Hopefully they can get that going off the ground, and I'll be happy to donate a little bit here and there just to make sure that we can make it happen. Because yeah,
Yeah.
get Haas another title sponsor. I mean,
No,
the white
absolutely.
livery is nice, but let's get some color in that car. And now, Nico,
The
let's go
shunt
to
of
the
the week.
shunt of the week. I actually have
Yeah.
two shunts of the week.
But they're kind of the same shunt of two
It's
different
kind of
people.
the same shunt made by two different teams.
Yeah.
So
But
you wanna go with the first one?
I may as well introduce both. It's Haas and Alfa Romeo's very weak performance during the first the preseason test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, bad
Boo.
way to start the season. And I know we
Yep.
said that you want these mistakes and stuff to happen during this time, and it's true.
Yeah.
You want your mistakes to happen during the preseason testing.
But it still only really happened to them. Everyone else seemed to have not had these issues, been able to run their cars continuously without issues.
And that doesn't stop you from going on shunt of the week.
That's
Even
true.
if it's the place where you want to do it, it doesn't stop you from going on shunt of the week. If you don't want to be on shunt of the week in F1, you have to be perfect. Our
Pretty
standards are
much.
high, I
Yeah.
guess.
Anything
High,
less than perfect, you're in a shunt of the week.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, Haas and Alfa Romeo, poor performance in testing so far. Not a lot of laps being logged by the drivers, which
No.
is a lack of data that they're able to pick up, and
Yep. It's a
not
lack
as
of optimization they can do to the cars in the future.
yeah, and the
Especially
drivers just getting
considered.
used to the cars, right?
Oh yeah, and especially considered on day 3 they did weather simulations, like real life weather simulations.
Yeah,
And then Haas basically didn't drive, and I don't think even Alfa Romeo drove that much on day 3.
yeah.
So they have no real data compared to the other teams on what like wets or inters kind of work with the car.
So they've got the next 2 weeks to sort of figure those things out, and hopefully come back with a stronger package in Bahrain for the second preseason
Yep.
test.
Yep. Hopefully all their fuel pump issues, their drainage, their engine cover issues are all fixed up.
Hopefully the F1 gods will be kind to them. But anyways, Nico, that's about all the time I think we have for this week, and we've pretty much covered what we wanted to. It was
Yeah.
an eventful
No,
week in F1,
very eventful week. Very
but
filled with a ton of stuff.
definitely not the last one that we're gonna have to cover. So,
No.
is there anything you want to say to everybody that's listening before we take off?
Be kind to everyone. Don't be rude to each other. That's pretty much it.
There you go. Be kind. Don't be rude. I mean, isn't that the same thing? Being kind and not being rude.
I had to stop myself.
You have to reinforce it. You reinforce.
I did have to reinforce it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just want to thank everybody that took the time to listen to us this week again. Just another F1 ramble, two brothers rambling. So if you made it to the end, I want to say thank you for the support, for listening in. Shouts out to you guys, and we'll see you next week. Peace out.
Bye.